Hello everybody, this is Fraczon here, and today, again, we're gonna take a look at some more World of Warships. Having seen how previously we had played with cruisers, today I thought we'd check something out different, and today is then Battleship turn. I just reached Tier 4 with the American side Battleship, and here we have it in all its grace, the Wyoming. Pretty sturdy ship. I like how it has 5 main batteries of 2. Really be interesting, and I just wanted to sort of showcase what it means playing a battleship compared to playing a cruiser, especially for maybe those of you who have just looking at the game, don't really know how it functions, and just like trying to give a little insight on what it means to play battleship and just what are the main differences and characteristics. And note to self and note to everybody, I'm not exactly the best of battleship players. I find myself much more adept to playing cruiser. However, I've been testing it out, I've been having quite fun, and there there's not like really any rules for playing it, but I think that the main point when you play battleship is it's really important to, or at least in my opinion, it's like playing a sniper in an FPS substantially, because you can fire, let's say, every 30 seconds just about, and of course you are a very hard-hitting you have very hard-hitting calibers, as you can see. Therefore your hits do tend to do a lot of damage. However, there are 2 points that should be noted. Precision is not always, let's say, the strongest point of battleships, in the sense that shots rarely tend to bunch up all together, so they tend to splice and kind of have a mind of their own. So it's not always easy to aim. And contrarily to cruisers, where I think it's just important to hit stuff, you don't really care where you hit it. Here it's quite important to hit the ships in the correct spots, and it's partially due to RNG, but you'd like to just really hit, let's say, the center of your ship and not like the enemy ship, and not just like any part of it, because then at that point, if you manage to hit, let's say, some critical parts, you get what is called a citadel shot, which is basically, I think in just simple terms, we can just define it as a critical shot. Therefore, I will be trying to portray this in this gameplay and just showing you guys how oftentimes you may think you're gonna hit the enemy ship, but you're actually not going to because of the splicing, and how it is entirely possible to just like one-shot a person with one full salvo. Especially with this ship, I mean, if there's like one of those less resilient cruisers and you just fire a full broadside of 12 shots, armor penetrating, piercing, I mean, you can really do a lot of damage. Just try and show, just maybe fire. Since the reload time is so high, I have to always kind of check if I'm leading too much, so I can't really say spam a full salvo, otherwise I'm just going to be rendered useless for another 30 seconds. And I'm guessing shooting at destroyers is not exactly what you want to be doing, but in absence of targets, sure, why not? Interesting to see what this cruiser is doing, just going just full speed backwards, and if we can, damn it, that would have been an excellent target, too bad for all these mountains. I'm just trying to, that's St. Louis at 13.6 kilometers, should just be the right target. It's moving extremely slowly, so I'm gonna go a test shot, and as I thought, I'm leading as crazy, and I feel quite comfortable with just full broadsiding that guy, and hopefully something hits. And let's see, and there you go, Citadel shot, 15k damage, and considering that's a ship with 29k, you basically two-shot him. I mean, this was relatively lucky to Citadel him, but this is what I mean when I say it's important to hit the ship where it counts. Anyway, I think I'll have to stick to another target, and here's things are gonna get rather ugly. We have a lot of cruisers, and I see my 2 destroyers and 2 cruisers are having a bit of a rough time. So, oh no, not dive bombers here. That's gonna be terrible. But the dive bomber plane just made a pretty huge mistake. You don't want to really be sinking cruisers with your dive bombers. You really want to be sinking battleships, since they are extremely immobile. Let's see if I can hit that Kuma. Yep, definitely gonna try. Hopefully do some damage. You see, Citadel shot, 11k damage, target destroyed. And it takes a lot of practice. I've had a lot of matches where I was, for example, I was grinding towards this tier 4, and I was using the South Carolina as the tier 3. And oh my goodness, was that painful. I'll have to eat a torpedo here, I don't really think I have a choice. And yeah, just gonna spam repair. And so I was saying that it's just not, it's not always easy to kind of get your hand about aiming with battleships. Stereo, I might manage to sink it depending what hits, but then you see you have other times in which you just fire a full salvo, you think you're just gonna destroy them, and you do like 1k damage, and you have a reload time of 30 seconds. That's not exactly what you'd like to do. Anyway, the team is behaving quite well. I'm a bit of afraid of that destroyer at 7 kilometers that just disappeared. That's not good. Our poor destroyer there has been torn to pieces, 16 health. Wow, never seen somebody that low. Probably gonna open fire on the Wyoming right here. It seems to be like a lame duck. I don't know if like he's had some connection problems. That's a decent 6k damage. Sure, I'll take it. I have no idea who's asking for help. Sadly enough, I'm in a bit of a bad positioning because seeing the immobility of that Wyoming is, of course, I highly doubt it's going to be perpetrated for a long time. Therefore, we'll have to just, and unfortunately I'm in the position of having to swing around the island instead of just shooting directly at him. But I might have considered that before, but you see, that's always the problem when you tunnel vision and you're too focused on one target, and then you don't just really pay too much attention to the map. But anyway, we should be regaining, let's say, terrain to shoot to that Wyoming, and I think me and the other Wyoming, we can 2-on-1 this guy, but he's gonna hide behind the mountains, it makes sense. And that kinda leaves me with nothing to do, in the sense that I'm just like a lumbering giant. It takes a long time for me to get places. I think I should be more concerned with trying to avoid this dive bomber, which clearly I will not be able to. I might just hit one, but I'm afraid I'm gonna have to take two. Lucky. I tried dodging as best as I could, but I think that was, it just really came down to the wire. Problem is I'm flooding. That's bad. That takes a lot of damage. I'd like to sink this Kuma, but as you can see, also my guns take a really long time to reload. Ooh, okay. I can heal up a bit. That Kuma is probably gonna go out of range really soon, so I might as well focus on the Wyoming. That is relatively. Oh, come on! Other torpedoes. I'll just have to hit. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. They just stopped short of my ship. That's crazily lucky. I'm on fire, but I'd rather be on fire than having to eat more torpedoes, sure. Only thing, I'm in that positioning, it's gonna take forever for my turrets to reposition themselves. Sure, the forwards one won't take as long, but I'm afraid of that Kuma will be shooting at me quite quickly. And please tell me that torpedo hits that battleship. That's good. Now let's fire more. Okay, I'm not cutting anyone's route. I was afraid that the other battleship here might have been like crashing into me. And now I have a choice to make. Do I focus the Kuma, because I'm quite afraid I'm gonna die. No, if my guns turn, of course. But no, I'm afraid I didn't have the time to turn them. You see, they're still half turned. And I mean, this was just a bit of a taste of how it looks to be on a battleship. And I'd like to also, well, since we're here, I might as well show you another type of battleship. On the Japanese side, the Kawachii, it's tier 3, and it has an interesting design. So you see, I think there's a bit less turret rotation issues, since we have 2 and 2, and those are semi-fixed, so they won't be turning 360 degrees. So a full broadside will still be 8 shots, well, versus 10 before, but this is still 1 tier less. But like these will actually be easier to move around, and maybe in situations like as before might be a bit more versatile. Maybe if somebody was wondering, this is probably one of the second match I tried with the Japanese battleship with the Kawachii. I have absolutely no experience, and therefore it is completely not upgraded. But more or less, I would say. Actually, I don't really know the differences between the two battleships, but from what I'm seeing from cruisers, usually Japanese side tends to have better torpedoes and a slightly worse, let's say, main armaments. But compared actually to the Tier 3 American battleship, this is actually much better, because the South Carolina only has 4 batteries of 2, so it's lacking the additional 2, and therefore will have a bit less mobility, and I would just generally say less, a bit less firepower and just less adaptability. So another thing I've been considering recently is there's the autopilot function. So you just click on the map and basically your ship goes there. It's not perfect, but I've been actually debating this with myself, whether this is a bit of a noob tool, or if there's actually like some, let's say, way of making this actually work properly. So I've been actually just considering it, and the conclusion I've come to is that if the autopilot were a bit more precise, it could be a valuable tool. I know it's used by carriers, and that makes sense, but I think maybe for more movement ships, it might not exactly be what you're hoping for. So, especially when you're maybe fighting multiple ships and you have maybe allies coming next to you, or dive bombers, let's say, I just think it doesn't cut it. I think it could be an interesting feature. Maybe if they tweak it, maybe if they change it, or you can give multiple commands to follow, because right now you can just give mono command, I think. At least maybe there's a way to do multiple, but I'd like to see, let's say, this element of an additional element of strategy to be considered. Well, not strategy, but just additional feature of gameplay. I already like how the map plays a big role, and also visibility, concealment. I mean, it's quite interesting factors. You don't always find them you don't find them in all games. That's what I was trying to say. So I'm actually tier 3. I didn't look at how we're composed. Quite a few tier 3s. We have a carrier advantage. Battleship wise, we are slightly ahead, but we're equal on destroyers, so I can't complain. Sadly enough, my range is rather short. I think my range is about 11 kilometers, I might think. Not more than that. That's always a bit of a nuisance, but always something that you'll have to consider. I like that we're bunching up here towards sea, because even though I'm battleship and I'm, let's say, good at taking hits, you don't really want to go and plow in through the enemy just like single-headedly, because you're just gonna get mauled anyway. The weight of numbers actually is rather important. There are games in which, if your, let's say, character is made to destroy another class, it will just destroy it regardless. But in this case, I know battleships were built for tanking, but there's, let's say, their limit to tanking is considerable in my opinion. You can't just like venture forth that much and just hope that you will survive miraculously. I mean, of course, you can always pray and hope, but I don't think that's the way it's meant. But as you can see, there's not really much happening, and this is, I think, one of the reasons I don't really enjoy playing Battleship too much, because you're very, very slow. And if the action doesn't come to you when you're kind of chasing it, like in this case where I'm just like out of range of everything, when you're playing it, I think it becomes rather boring. So Maybe at higher tiers it's more interesting. You have well, we saw it before actually with the American battleship, that we had more range. It was an interesting game, and I had fun there. But like in this game, it's just like struggling to get me engaged. Maybe when this Phoenix comes into distance, comes into range, I can start shooting. But if I were the Phoenix player, just like hide behind the mountains as soon as I see a battleship approaching, and that's exactly what he's gonna do. It makes complete sense. So I'm just like kind of moving slowly, and eventually I hope I'm gonna get to hit something, because I understand that also people watching this might not exactly be thrilled by this lack of action. But I would tend to say that this is how battleship gameplay is. I don't think it's particularly satisfying, by the least. And god, my range is like 8.77. That's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm like a short. Like to engage, you really have to get close. I'm not exactly sure that's what battleships were built for. You see, I'd love to help this Teryu here. Finally, I can. I have to just then when I shoot, I have to be careful, because if I shoot, then there's excellent chances I shall miss. And that looked like a decent way to fire. I hope I can do some good damage. And then you see, you think you had him, and then no, the splicing just mocks up all your aim. And it happens. You have to take it as it is. But let's say that you have to be extremely accurate, and I must say it's quite demanding. I don't think playing Battleship is particularly relaxing. I think there's always a lot of thought involved, and I don't know. I think you can permit yourself fewer distractions. Hey, but there you go. Then you get one good volley and you sink cruisers as if you were swatting a fly. So you see, it just like you have sudden spikes of activities. It's rather interesting. Hopefully, I will be able to sink this very annoying Phoenix. Actually, just need one shot. Actually, one good shot, and I'll try. Come on, it has like 337. But of course, I'm gonna miss. Let's try again. Oh my god, come on! That's ridiculous. You'll have to forgive me, my aim is a bit off, and I'm probably, even if I die before this, is gonna be ridiculous. There we go. But that was this is what I'm not particularly good at playing Battleship, as you can tell. But I wanted to really show how it is playing Battleship, albeit not by an expert player, but still just giving you a feel of how it might be. And I'll fire these last shots before being destroyed, and that's pretty much it. It's not exactly been a particularly exciting match, so if I'd like to leave it off on a better note. So if the Wyoming is available, and here she is, we'll try another gameplay, and hopefully this is going to be a little bit more entertaining for you guys, and also possibly a better game also for me. I mean, of course, I want to entertain you, but I'd like also to be at the peak of my game. And this Two Brothers map is actually going to be interesting. I've actually had some pretty good games playing here as Battleship. There's not that many islands to hide about, and I do hope there's a lot of, let's say, cruisers ready to get sunk. There's 4 cruisers. Don't really want to go destroyer hunting. Although, I mean, if necessity calls, we shall go destroyer hunting. I see no problem with that. It's going to be a heck of a big problem, but everything can be done. I think the most important thing here is kind of choosing the correct side to go, because as a battleship, I mean, I think as any ship really in this game, you never want to be isolated. That's probably the capital way of dying. That's the easiest. I think that's the most common reason for dying, because I mean, let's be honest, you don't really die out of bad aim. I mean, sure, you don't hit targets, but I think the positioning of your ship becomes fundamental in this game. So if you get caught out, if you're like, I mean, look at this. If you have we have a destroyer leading in H3, it makes sense because the destroyer has smoke screens, it has increased speed, it can do quite a lot of evasive maneuvers, so it can kind of go scout out, be, let's say, the vanguard. But if I were there, I'm just gonna get caught out, and I'm probably gonna be flanked by, I don't know, 2, 3 cruisers or whatever it is, 2 cruisers on battleship, and just gonna get like shelled to death, while other classes can do it. And this is also, I like the idea that each of these classes has like a kind of specific role. Maybe other people would prefer flexibility, but I do appreciate this this realism from this point of view. So battleships should be the hard hitters from behind, and can take hits for a moderate amount of time, but not, of course, not all, let's say, all in one shot. Anyway, really on one side, I see this is a comment, and things I've actually, it's an interesting thought, and I don't really know. Some say never split the party. I think this is very debatable. I think that if you had a good team, I mean, it really depends. It's a bit of a gamble, because if you split up, of course you can sandwich, you can hit them between from 2 flanks, and that's good. However, if the enemy team just comes in force all in one direction like we're doing, so let's say that they're splitting up, and so they're sending, let's say, 5 of their ships here, and we're all going there, we're just gonna overrun them, and basically the game is completely lost from their point of view. While instead, if we all come frontally, I mean, let's say it's a bit of a risk-averse choice, but it's probably the better choice if you want to try and win. Because splitting is, of course, is nice. It's tactically, it's more fun, it's more challenging. But I'm not exactly sure it wins games. Maybe, let's say, at the top levels of play, would you have like coordinated action at tier 9 or 10, or just by people who want to play it, let's say, very competitively, I could definitely see those strategies coming into place. But with so little communication and just in, let's say, random games, I don't see that kind of strategy happening right now. Well, anyway, coming back to our game, sadly there's a lot of filling up to do, since when you play Battleship there's really not that much to do, and the map is so huge and basically there's nothing to shoot at. Yeah, we're slowly making our way on the left side, like to support our, I mean, we're basically all here. I mean, we have a ton of cruisers, battleships, just like our entire flank is hoping to roll up their own side. I see a lot of damage been done to that. Cleveland, ooh, might be able to shoot at it? I don't know. It's always tricky shooting across mountains, but I'll give it a shot anyway. I don't think I'll be shooting at anything else for a bit long. Oh, never mind, that's been destroyed. So I mean, I can't complain. I like having a good team. It's always good to win, but I'm not really contributing too much to it. But as you can see, I think this is a widespread problem. I think this Cleveland here next to me has done nothing. Same for that New Mexico. Same here for this Wyoming, and it's because I see they're like just coming like from the other side. So actually it leaves me with a bit of a dilemma. I'm actually considering turning around, because all their other team is like, it's like we're on the merry-go-round here, and for me, it's, as a battleship, it's absolutely pointless trying to chase the enemy in the rear. And come on, I mean, I'm actually getting bored of just chasing around. So I will definitely try to engage those 2 Omahas. Sadly enough, they're quite far away for my range. But if this New York and the Minakaze decide to actually help as they're doing, we can maybe make a stand right there. Well, that's sunk. That's good, and I think maybe we should swing to right. At least I don't have the speed to chase around the entire map, otherwise we'll have like a 20 minutes gameplay where basically I chase around the island. That seems a bit of a really boring thing. So of course we're gonna be quite severely outnumbered, since it's just gonna be like me and the destroyer with nobody else helping out. And hopefully somebody's gonna pop out on the horizon. Or otherwise, there could always be the more interesting, if not more reckless, choice of just diving in the canal here. But unfortunately, I've seen destroyers camping it in some games I've played, so maybe you could make that work if you're playing a destroyer yourself or a cruiser, but as a battleship, I don't really recommend that. I mean, unless you're extremely bored. And if my turrets could turn just a little bit faster, I'd be happier. Gonna try a normal shot, see where that ends. If I'm leading, I'm trailing. Is that good enough? Oh, interesting. For once, I'm not leading enough. That is usually my most common mistake. I always tend to overlead. But that... oh, it's a cruiser. For a second I thought it was a battleship. Oh, finally the New York had some good sense to come and swing on the other side. And... there we go. 3k, first hits of the match. Oh well, we're just destroying stuff here. Ooh. Poor... that destroyer just got wrecked completely by that. There's a cruiser down there. Just disappeared out of sight. But that's most definitely my next target. After all, the battleship was basically, at least in this game, is built to handle cruisers. Maybe I get a lucky shot? Nope. Optical illusion. Too bad. Still too far away. But at least I'm not completely alone here. Actually, our team is completely dominating, I must say. That's kind of rare. I've seen usually balanced matches, so it's actually a bit uncommon to see all this complete predominance. So in terms of moving ships, there are actually going to be 4, and we have 1 aircraft carrier, but I'm definitely not the best suited, let's say, ship for aircraft carrier hunting. As always, I don't care anything you can do. You can hunt whatever you want. And I'm actually lucky I'm not that New York, as you can see, like just being focused, fired by all the aircraft carrier's resources. He might survive. Oh, I didn't see the... I thought those torpedo bombers were gonna hit it, but it's not, so I might as well go back and try to focus on this Omaha class. I'm not sure I'm in range. His turning is not stupid, but I'll try to send a test salvo, and I'm afraid that's not gonna cut it. That was really close though. Is that he's cutting such a path that I'm not gonna get like a full broadside on him, and he's definitely much faster than me, so he can easily outmaneuver me. That's not good. Well, not good, I mean. Just makes things less interesting. So I'd love to catch up with him. I'd love to get some salvos off and do some damage. But sadly enough, I'm just too slow and can't reload fast enough. And I'm afraid that when a one-on-one confrontation with the New York, I might not exactly be in the position to... I think New York is 1 tier above me, so it would make sense for me to kind of lose that engagement. But maybe I get lucky and maybe I can manage to kill it off. It all depends if it keeps hiding, and yeah, I can see that's an aircraft carrier over there. 17 kilometers is gonna take forever. It could be that just the ship's needs its full amount of upgrades to be a bit more effective, or maybe it's just this map and how this current scenario played out that's making it, let's say, for a not particularly interesting map game. But hey, there's a good thing, is that aircraft carrier is actually moving towards me, so we may get a little bit of fun in the end. Let's try 1 shot just to see if I'm leading, if it's just about, if I have my aim good. No, it's definitely wrong aim. Let's try this way, because I just like to get some citadel shots onto that aircraft carrier. That would be lovely. And as you see, the splicing is insane. Like 1 shot just goes one way and the other just goes where the hell it prefers to. I'll just fire the rest, but it's just it can get rather annoying, in my opinion, to just you think you're hitting stuff, but you're not. You're actually not. Okay, this was my mistake because I think I didn't lead enough. But you see, the distance is about correct, so I don't see why I should not be at least hitting some hits. I'm not saying like full citadels, but there we go. Because then when you hit, you do a ton of damage. I have to keep reminding myself of that. I'm just so used to playing cruisers, where you just spam stuff and maybe you just do 2k, 1k at a time. I need like my broadside right now. I don't really, oh come on. I really thought I had that one. Because if I go around the mountains, I mean, it's not gonna be that bad. But the, you see then you get one hit, it's like 800 damage, and that's really pisses you off. Because it's just sad. Because you take 30 seconds for the reload. But hey, we won the game. My contribution has been rather irrelevant, but I just wanted to show you guys what Battleship gameplay is about. This might have been a bit more boring than the others, but at least in 30 minutes you get like at least a sample, because then maybe you see one game in the Battleship and it's awesome, and I really don't care to show just like fake videos like in which, oh, I just choose the best of it. I just want to show how it actually is out of 3 games, how it is to play Battleship. It could be because of positioning that I made some mistakes, and if that were be the case, I'd really be glad if anybody just wanted to point them out to me. But yeah, I just wanted to show for me how playing Battleship is, and maybe I do things wrong, maybe I just got unlucky in these matches, but this is honest and true gameplay, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.